There are a lot of horrific members of the Trump administration. Scott Pruitt would probably be my number one if I were to rank it, although Jeff Sessions ranks number one in stupidity and racism, so he's got to be up there. Betsy DeVos could beat him out in stupidity, though. But I couldn't forget about foreclosure king Mnuchin, so he's up there too. All right, point being, his cabal of villains is extensive. They've got a deep bench in the Trump administration. They're the Golden State Warriors of corruption and racism and all of that. But as usual, the under-the-radar government officials are the ones that we have to look out for most because they just don't get the press. And recently, no one has been more cartoonishly evil and cruel than America's acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Thomas Homan. Thomas Homan, the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, is quickly becoming one of the most dangerous men in America. During a speech this past week, Homan told the audience that he was enjoying his job as the mass deportation architect of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant vision, calling for a 400% increase in worksite raids and doubling down on his remark from last year that immigrant families with no criminal record should be living in perpetual fear of his mass deportation agents. "I'll never back down on those words," Homan said at the Border Security Expo in San Antonio, a conference that connects law enforcement with companies looking to win contracts, of course. "If you violate the laws of this country, if you enter illegally, which is a crime, it's not going to be okay anymore." He has followed through on those threats. As this great Daily Kos article points out, just days ago, ICE, under Homan's leadership, deported Amir Adi Othman, an Ohio father and businessman who has lived for almost 40 years in the United States. He has no criminal record, and they deported him. Why? Because he tried to do the right thing and check in with ICE. And then they stabbed him in the back, of course, under Thomas Homan. And just a month ago, ICE deported Jorge Garcia of Lincoln Park, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. He is also a father. He was brought into this country almost 30 years ago when he was just 10 years old. He had tried applying for a green card all the way back in 2005, but their lawyer allegedly filed the wrong paperwork. Here is his family saying goodbye to him. Homan uses the MS-13 gang, a largely Latino gang, as his reasoning for deporting these individuals, these law-abiding individuals, conflating them with gang members, just like Trump did in his State of the Union. It is designed to stir fear and xenophobia and bigotry in the country, and he is Trump's henchman in doing so. And if you're a politician that leads a city or a county and you don't want to deport your community members who have been here for decades, like Amir Adi Othman or Jorge Garcia, he wants to prosecute you too.
How do you follow up on that, though? How do you search these individuals out without looking, as I think the governor was intimating, like the Gestapo?
I got 20,000 American patriots that work for ICE. They strap a gun to their hip every day and leave the safety and security of their homes to protect these communities and protect the homeland. So shame on Governor Brown for that opinion. What I can tell you we're going to do in response is, as I said, we're going to vastly increase our enforcement footprint in the state of California. We're going to be all over the place, and we're going to enforce law without apology. What I'm also doing is working with the Department of Justice for these sanctuary cities that knowingly shield and harbor an illegal alien in their jail and don't allow us access. That is, in my opinion, a violation of 8 U.S.C. 1324. That's an alien smuggling statute. I've asked the Department of Justice to look at this. Are these sanctuary cities, can we hold them accountable? Are they violating federal law? So there's more to come on that. That's certainly an angle we're looking at.
What if they do just that? What do you do?
Pardon me?
What if they do just that? What do you do?
I think we charge some of these sanctuary cities with violating federal law. I think if they knowingly harbor and shield a known illegal alien, a public safety threat in a jail, and won't give us access to that alien.
But they are, Director, right? In a lot of cases, they're doing just that. Then what do you do if they're protecting, or there's a shield of protection around such individuals? How do you force the point?
We got to work with the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice needs to do a couple things. Number one, they need to file charges against the sanctuary cities. Number two, they need to hold back their funding. Another thing they need to do, they need to hold these politicians personally accountable. I mean, more citizens are going to die because of these policies, and these politicians can't make these decisions and be held unaccountable for people dying. I mean, we need to hold these politicians accountable for their actions.
This guy has so much hate in his heart. It is unfathomable to me. And Trump's base eats it up. There's more. Homan has already threatened to escalate workplace and neighborhood raids in California in direct retaliation to the state passing Senate Bill 54, legislation that immigrant rights advocates have called the most sweeping anti-deportation law in the nation. The San Francisco Chronicle reported that Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) officers began conducting raids of 77 businesses in the Bay Area and Sacramento region over the past week. This was last week. The officers demanded that the businesses in question provide proof that their employees were legally permitted to work in the United States. The Chronicle reported that the series of raids is believed to be the largest instance of localized workplace sweeps since Trump took office. Homan has also promised that because of the state's new law, California will be on the receiving end of collateral arrests, a crass term describing when non-targets are swept up in targeted raids because they happen to be there at the time. ICE will have no choice but to conduct at-large arrests in local neighborhoods and at work sites, the agency said, which will inevitably result in additional collateral arrests instead of focusing on arrests at jails and prisons where transfers are safer for ICE officers and the community. So let's stop right there for a second. This sounds exactly like something out of Nazi Germany. Yeah, we're not just going to arrest the illegals. We're going to arrest the people harboring the Jews, I mean the illegals, right? And they're going to workplaces. I thought your whole thing was that these lazy immigrants, they're just not working, they're not contributing to the economy, they aren't productive members of society, so we just have to deport them. But they are clearly working. You're going to workplaces. Meanwhile, in other states, unshackled federal immigration agents have flouted their own policy dictating that schools and churches should be sensitive locations, mostly off limits to enforcement actions by arresting dads as they dropped their kids off at schools in New Jersey and arresting immigrant men leaving a church hypothermia shelter in Virginia. In Rhode Island, Lillian Gordillo thought she was going to government officials to get a step close to legalizing her status through her U.S. citizen husband. Instead, she was arrested. This man, this vile man, Thomas Homan, is the strong man of Trump's racist authoritarianism, operating with brazen, open, proud cruelty. And this is the kind of thing that really gives the charges of the Trump administration being a threat to our democracy credence. They are doing what the Nazis did and what other authoritarian governments have done in the past. Pick out one group, demonize them, go after people working for and being friends with and associating themselves with them, and drum up nationalism to hate that other group. We have to be on high alert here because this is both heartbreaking and frightening, and this man, Thomas Homan, might beat out Scott Pruitt for the worst guy in the Trump cabal.